But Nigeria is the gas country that happens to have oil. Why should you import fertilizer? Value addition. You must include fertilizer production, but I was told my brother is an expert on that. He will cover the details. So I gave you 4 technologies combined with services, and I've just elaborated a little bit on the ag productivity side. Second, small and medium enterprises. You know, in India, I just been in conferences now 4 days on energy, gas and oil. So I remember this number on India. 29 million small and medium enterprises, accounting for 45% of manufacturing output and about 40% of exports. One thing I know about my brothers and sisters in Nigeria, they're entrepreneurs. If you want to know that a country is free and open and doing business, when we travel around the world, whether it's Thailand, Hong Kong, everywhere, I look for the Nigerian corner. They're always trading. I remember, as Ndidi said, remember I worked here 3 years, driving sometimes from Lagos to Aba and also Onitsha and in Abia State, all of these places. Myself, pushing for supporting SME cluster development here. What is my point? There are millions of small operators, millions of them. In fact, some people estimated that $20 billion or more per year goes through your SME sector. These are millions of entrepreneurs getting ready to get into your food and agribusiness supply chain. How do we support them? It's going to be a big issue, but in DD and others, we've all worked together on those issues. So introducing, which was my 6th point, stimulating private participation in that, of course, financing, a lot of what you've said, infrastructure, cost of doing business, and so on. Number 3, gender. You know, when I was a young PhD student in the United States, we had a presentation and somebody came in there, a very arrogant young African man, and they showed numbers of the role of women in agriculture. Of course, I was shocked. You know, for food processing in Africa, 80 to 90% is done by women. So, Governor, you can't talk about agribusiness development here. Go to the markets. Who is really doing the heavy duty? It's the women. So about the role of women in this space. Once I was in Denmark and they were talking about all these gender issues. And it was all the negatives and barriers. So I stood up. I said, wait a minute, guys. Why don't you look at West Africa? We have a positive. Our women are natural entrepreneurs. Talk to me about how we strengthen them to even be better entrepreneurs. Governor, that's the challenge you and others face in Nigeria. If you want to change agribusiness, look at the women as well. Their technologies, their financing, their rights to property. All of those are packets. I didn't hear anything about gender for 2 days. So women, I'm not trying to campaign for you. I'm just telling your men the reality. That's the end of my agriculture side, but let me talk about some of the other things. Today, I work in the energy space. In fact, I tell people, remember, I'm an agricultural economist who found himself as Director General of an industrial development agency, who now finds himself promoting energy systems around the world. Yeah, for the Secretary General. Part of that is influenced by Nigeria. One of the things that bothered me working here, 2000 to 2003, the cost of energy to manufacturing industries. Lafarge said it correctly this morning. 1/5 of their operating cost, energy. And many people mentioned it. Today, I lead those issues for Africa. Africa has 600 million energy poor. Your great country cannot even guarantee us 24 hours of uninterrupted energy. You cannot imagine the cost of that to manufacturing here. And who will come and build bigger factories if in fact 20 to 30% of their cost is energy? Why do I say that here? Industrialization, whether for agribusiness or something else, amongst all the other infrastructure issues you have to deal with, Nigeria, build on your comparative advantage of being a cheap energy country. You have about 4,000 megawatts today. You need 40,000 megawatts. You're burning gas, billions of dollars. I'm leading a group here to deal with zero flaring of gas. I didn't know When I started doing that here 2001 in Nigeria, that 13 years later, I'll be asked to lead those issues for the world. But I tell you, it is wrong. I learned, by the way, last week I was in Moscow with Prime Minister Medvedev and his group in the International Energy Forum, keynoting for the oil and gas group. Nigeria has 170 trillion cubic feet of gas, the gas country that happens to have oil. You know what other nations are doing with their cheap energy? Let me give you two examples. Iceland. Iceland is one of the biggest producers of aluminum. You feel say they get bauxite? They now get better. People ship it in all the way north. You know why? Cheap geothermal energy. Nigeria. You deflare the gas for 50 years. There should be pipelines coming to your factories even more to make energy costs cheap. You go beat everybody competitively. So you must include that. Second, decentralized distributive power. Do you know globally 4.3 million premature deaths every year due to household air pollution? That charcoal, firewood we use here, it they kill we picking there and women. In Africa, 800,000 deaths. 4.3 million is double HIV/AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis combined. Guess what? You're cutting all the trees down. So very soon, you'll have water problems. Very soon, this agribusiness base you think you have, it not going to exist. You should check. I have seen some of the studies on charcoal use in your own country. It's killing people, but it should not happen. So my job now is to promote energy access, universal access to energy, energy efficiency. All those new building projects, they must be energy efficient. Do you know that for SMEs, the cost is sometimes 40% of their production costs? One of the things that bothered me also, when I go to Aba, you know, I used to walk through the slums. You see these entrepreneur people sitting, 40 employees, light no day. Light no day. Say, Oga, why you not fire them? He said, well, I have to train new people, but I get for pay them so they go stay 3 days. There was an industrialist in eastern Nigeria. They made me go to his house. In those days, apparently in the 70s, he was the biggest in this Enugu, Anambra area. I walked in, the old man looked at me with all my Harvard, PhD and everything. He said, so what do you know about manufacturing? I said, not much, sir. He said, do you see this light? It is supposed to be white. It is yellow. You know why, my boy? The energy is low. He said, I spend 70% of my time chasing tankers for energy. I know the same in Lagos. World Bank and I did studies on those. So in closing, Governor, you have a vision. But Unilever guy said it the best way yesterday. The problem in Africa is not about plans and visions. It is the consistency, dedication of implementation. He said execution, execution, execution. But the other one is political risk. The finance guys talked about it a little bit. People are worried. If you're going to invest in a housing estate, agribusiness, you know want where governor come out, another governor come, he change policy. The loan was taken for 20 years. Governor don't come out, another one come, he change policy. I can't run back to the bank. So in banking, as I deal with energy systems now, because we're talking big finance, the bankers tell you, Deutsche Bank, Goldman Sachs, we want TLC in policy, not tender loving care. Transparency, longevity, credibility. That policy was not designed to please one man. That policy was designed to unleash entrepreneurship for everybody so they can create jobs and prosperity. My last 2 points, and indeed I'll go sit down. Everybody said it. As they say in Nigeria, by the grace of God, you are right next to Lagos. You know, as a young professor at Michigan State, I wrote maybe 20 policy briefs on the advantages to Michigan community and farmers of the North American Free Trade Agreement that Vincente Fox was talking about yesterday. Yeah? As he said yesterday, they were lucky they're right next to America. Come on, Ogun State. You're right next to hungry Lagos. 15 million people. The projection is 30 million Lagosians in 25 years. Governor, you should feed them, you should clothe them, and if they want, you house them too. So Governor, my hope is you and the governor of Lagos invite me because I'm talking about strategic alliance. Help your brother